Thanks for stopping by for a quick listen to the Music on the Open Road podcast. The podcast with the focus upon protection of human right number 27 in American music. Welcome to the Music on the Open Road podcast, and welcome everyone to this special episode entitled An Evening with Melanie. Tonight, we focus on songwriter, folk pop music sensation Melanie upon the stage, a lone woman with her guitar. More than 50 years of performances across the globe, South Korea to Carnegie Hall and the Royal Albert Hall. My name is Corinne Sullivan. I'm the writer and the host of the Music on the Open Road podcast. I edit and curate each episode as well from whatever location in the United States the music has taken me to. I launched Article 27 Music, LLC back in 2019 from my home in Oregon, always in search of the higher notes of honor and protection for songwriters and the great American music performer. My podcast is supposed to be a radical but middle-of-the-road approach to human rights today. This podcast goes out to every fan of music and to every participant in the music industry, always searching you out to join arms, to sail, to dance, to make social media content with restricted access and limited points of contact to the public, yet still come out fine. And we'll jump through all the hoops and we'll walk through all the rigmarole and somehow come out great because it's a new era right now with new technological advances, and somehow we're going to make human rights, human decency, honesty, and respect a part of the new era we are all marching towards. I hope you will enjoy this episode. Human rights is a commonplace word in today's society. We don't always agree with what everybody says, but we can all lift our voices and sing. And when we sing, it always sounds better than anything anybody has to say. So welcome again to the Music on the Open Road podcast.
Yeah.
My name is Corinne Sullivan. I am not a lawyer. I'm an American, and I love great music. And as an American, I get to talk my head off about whatever I need to. So I'm here to talk about human rights in the music industry. So the first season of this podcast is dedicated to understanding the role of Melanie Safka. And I just think that Melanie is a perfect example of what is honestly happening today in music, 2023. The reason why I chose Melanie is because her career is like a historic series of landmark events in songwriter protection. And I'm hoping to show that and then relate it to human rights violations that I think affect all artists. And I hope you have a chance to listen to episode 1 of this podcast, which is entitled Born to Be, where I talked about Melanie meeting and working with her husband and music producer, Peter Schekeryk. And I hope you also can take an hour to listen to episode 2, Neighborhood Records, where I introduced the information about Melanie's historic 1971 music production company record label that she named Neighborhood Records, where Melanie paid for and orchestrated the recording and release and promotion of the very first album from her record label called Gather Me. And that record included on track number 4, Melanie's biggest hit song, Brand New Key, which is still re-recorded today and played on television shows and played on really big TV, big deal TV, like, The Voice or, all of these talent shows. So she's really embedded in the culture and her music is just everywhere, but shockingly, Melanie receives virtually nothing. So this is so hard to talk about because I've seen personally what she's going through, and it's awful. And that's my interest from the perspective of human rights. Melanie has this truly remarkable integrity to herself. So we see her insisting on her music production in every contract since 1968. She set an example of female empowerment and also female control and personal discipline. When she began, Melanie never asked to be a star. She was an actress, but Peter was sincere, promised he could manage things in the music world, and made a pact to keep her music under the control of themselves. This is beautiful. They sold millions of physical albums. Truly, it could have been 100 millions of album sales since 1968, and with the world going digital. But even though she didn't make a mistake anywhere, contract-wise, today she doesn't get anything back. This evening, in this episode, An Evening with Melanie, we spend our evening focusing on Melanie on the stage. Melanie, the world-class performance giver. Melanie sold out Carnegie Hall 4 times. She sold out the Sydney Opera House and the Royal Albert Hall, as well as the Drury Lane Theatre. She actually performed 2 times in the demilitarized zone between North Korea and South Korea with machine guns pointing at her. As she's on the stage with her guitar, she's looking up, and beyond the audience, walking back and forth, are machine guns, and beyond that, on the North Korean side of that border, are people with machine guns. And that's all happening, and she's there singing in support of peace. Incredibly, she donated an entire tour at the start of her career to UNICEF. And she is the only artist in history to be invited as a folk performer to be, deliver a full night of music on stage at the New York City Metropolitan Opera House at the Lincoln Center. So these are some of the highlights. And I've spent hours speaking to Melanie, listening to her stories. I absolutely love this woman. She is divine. I couldn't honestly say enough about what she has brought to my life. We made voice recordings, and I invite everyone out there to listen to Melanie talk about her first series of major live performances as a singer-songwriter. The Olympia Theater, Paris, France, in the early months of 1969.
Paris, yeah, imagine going to Paris with my marriage license. Near Gilbert Bécaud is the one who said he was going to present me to the French public. And when we got off the plane, there were people holding Melanie banners. And I had no idea that I was already somewhat well known. And there was a small assembly of kids saying Melanie and taking my picture. Press was there, had cameras in my face. I had no idea this was going to happen. But I think the record company kind of orchestrated some of that. And we got there and we got into a car. And, this was totally fascinating to me. I was in another country, in France. How beautiful. And I had taken French in high school. It didn't really do very much. But I did know a few words, and I knew a lot of names for food. I didn't live very far from the theater, which was the Olympia Theater in Paris. And Gilbert Bécaud, introduced me at the Olympia Theater, and Bruno Cocatrix was the presenter, and he had presented Gilbert Bécaud, and Edith Piaf, and all the French stars. He had worked with all of them.
Amazing, Melanie, just amazing.
It was a variety show in the fashion of those European extravaganza variety shows, and it was 40 days and 40 nights. Well, Gilbert Bécaud was first on the bill, and I was second on the bill. So, they were really promoting me big time.
Wow, that's amazing.
There was the Arabian acrobats with a camel. The camel was in my dressing room because I was just me, and it was a big dressing room, so they figured the camel could go in my dressing room.
The camel was literally in your dressing room, Melanie?
Yeah, literally. And Gilbert Bécaud came in that first night, and he was giving me a pep talk, He said, "You've got to take the audience, and you have to," and he's very, with his face and his accent, and you must take the audience and fuck them. That's what he said. I take the audience and fuck them. If you really want to do it, you have to fuck it. And that was, this is like, this was so unreal to me, and here I am being promoted, and it was all so sudden, I didn't have the experience of starting out, I was just thrown into the deep end, and there I was, and the press was writing about me and taking my picture, and they wanted to know all kinds of stuff. I had hardly lived, so I, didn't have anything much to talk about, and it was all so sudden, being married and being, there, in France, I was a big deal because that was, Gilbert Bécaud was like Frank Sinatra. He was like a real big deal. All over Europe, everybody knows Gilbert Bécaud. It was like sold out every night. A complete packed house every single night. It was the biggest theater that I had ever played in.
That's amazing. What a beautiful story. What a wonderful thing.
Yeah, that was pretty. And Julien Clerc was like, way down the list after the acrobats. And he is now what Gilbert Bécaud was.
Wow.
I have a glass that I don't know how I managed to save this glass. Outside the stage door, there was a man who was like, he painted the marquee on the glass, and I would buy one from him every night. He stood outside the stage door, and that's how he made a living, painting for the people who did the Olympia, their poster. And he painted it on a glass, and I have one left. It says the Olympia Theater in Paris, and the people who performed there, so we could take a picture. Very extensive rehearsals, and it was about 2 weeks before, and we did press. We'd go out on these with all the performers, and I was not that kind of a performer. I was, just quiet, and all these people were used to this kind of being a celebrity, and like Gilbert Bécaud would jump off a wall, and they would get him in midair with his hands up, Same with Julien Clerc, he'd be in a pose, he'd strike a pose always with his arms in the air or one hand up, very dramatic. And then they would take a picture of me. I would just be standing there. It was so strange, just to be in this other existence all of a sudden. And we would go for these, I don't know what you would call them, these orgy feasts, gluttony, in the middle of the day, right before our rehearsal. We would, go to these restaurants with Bruno Corinne, and he'd order the first wine, white wine, and then he'd order the red wine, and everybody drank at least a bottle of wine. And I mean, I could barely drink a glass without falling asleep. So I would sip wine, pretending, that I was drinking. Have more wine, give me wine, you have to have wine. And so I said, oh, okay. And he would order course after course of food, and I didn't half of it. I mean, it was delicious. It was the best French cuisine, with escargot and soup and salads and meat and cheese after the dinner was cheese and dessert and fruits, and then another kind of drink, to have after dinner drink. And I mean, I don't know how I got up from the table, never mind, to perform afterward. And this was like every day, and little by little I just had to abstain because I couldn't do it.
Wow.
They ate, and all of the dancers were there, and all of the acrobats, and everybody. I mean, he had a table that every single performer was sitting at this table.
Wow.
And then they would smoke. That was the days when they smoked those horrible French cigarettes. Those stinky, awful cigarettes, and I thought I was going to die.
And you were sitting there with Peter, and he was like talking to everybody, and you were fascinated.
Yeah, I was fascinated, but it seems so crazy that people could eat like this and drink like this, and then go and dance and sing.
Wow.
But I guess they drink enough wine, you don't notice that you're whatever stuffed. But it was so crazy, and I became very aware of meat, and somehow I equated this to things like overeating and the whole experience of overindulging in food and drink and meat. And I would walk home from the meals or walk to the theater, and we'd pass these butcher shops, and it wasn't just meat in the window, but whole hanging animals.
Wow.
And between, I guess, the way my stomach felt and just looking at these animals, I decided I was going to be a vegetarian.
Wow.
And I started a little, when I got home, I really became a vegetarian. But it all started in Paris.
It started in Paris.
Walking past these neat things with an animal hanging on a hook.
Wow.
It just seemed so barbaric. And then, it was becoming, after the shows were beginning, there were some nights that it wasn't a great reception, because there was this thing with, politically, the Vietnam War was raging and or beginning or something. It was and it became a bit anti-American. And we were in a war, and so there'd be nights where I'd get that, from the audience.
Wow, that's amazing.
But my review from the biggest paper in Paris was Melanie is, because Gilbert Bécaud was presenting me, so I could, do no wrong.
Is remarkable. The Olympia Theater is the historic Parisian theater that has the star-studded background with Edith Piaf and all the big names in European music, and today is still hosting the biggest acts in the world. And that was the beginning of Melanie's stardom. I mentioned earlier that Melanie was the only folk artist invited to perform at the New York City Metropolitan Opera House, which is so exciting. In 2019, I was on my way from Oregon to Tennessee, and I had the money for my trip. I didn't take my connecting flight from New York to Tennessee. I went out and rented a SUV and drove to this barn in upstate New York. It's actually the loft of an antique mall, which is set in a very rural part of upstate New York, and picked up Melanie's Neighborhood Records original audio reels, which had been on the verge of either being sold off or maybe even, tossed or given away because of the cost of getting any music from the reels. They had literally been stored for 40 years, ever since Neighborhood Records had closed down. And I just did it on the spur of the moment because there was this risk of losing them, and also the fact that we might not even be able to restore anything from the tapes. I called my dad. He loaned me $6,000, and I drove from New York State to Oregon with these tapes. From those tapes came Melanie's performance at the Met. And I'm just saying that, you guys, if I hadn't done that, we would have lost that performance. That is how much work I think it takes to save music in the United States, because you'll find out more in episodes 4 through 6 about why Melanie's library has been so entangled and why these tapes were left to rot. It just breaks my heart. It breaks my heart because it's like Melanie has this viewpoint, or had this viewpoint at that time, that these tapes had no value. And that was because she was actually told that her music has little to no value by men making business deals with her music and pocketing millions of dollars while she gets nothing. And those business deals, as you will learn in the upcoming episodes, have nothing to do with her. And she's the owner of the recordings, the music, the lyrics, everything connected to her library. So you guys, come on. This is a really important topic, and I just wanted to express to you that it does take your shoulder against the wheel for your favorite artists. And that's where I am coming from. This is my thought and my belief about this. I just really wish more people were open and honest. What was your favorite type of reaction for the audience to have?
I felt, when there would be that absolute silence before the applause. There'd be like this. It took a minute for it to really get there.
Wow.
And then it would erupt, and it was like, we did it,
Right.
We really did it that time,
Right.
And not just like, oh, she's finished, Oh, she's done. It was, and not that that's bad, but there's these certain moments where I'd be so immersed in the song, and I'd be finished, and it would take me a minute to think, what am I going to do now? And then the audience got that too, you know. What are we going to do now? Yeah! You know, it was, I don't know, there's like this certain kind of silence that happens sometimes after a certain performance. Yeah. You know, that it usually on some kind of a deep emotional song, not on Brand New Key. It never happened on Brand New Key. Well, on poppier songs, people can kind of bounce, you know, but on songs that are like telling about something that is similar to what they're experiencing, you really go beyond just singing a song. You're entering, you know, a zone that they're in, and they're not used to that. People mostly aren't used to people entering their zone, right? I mean, there's very few people who can duplicate to the person so that they really feel this kinship, you know, so that's my favorite feeling that I get.
That, like, this one song would do that, or that one song would really do that, or I just sound like a newspaper reporter right now, but I'm like, it's so fascinating.
Some say, or
yeah,
the actress, or tuning my guitar. Tuning my guitar is like, you know, who do you think you are?
I know, that's so right.
You know, everybody has a who do you think you are right in there, you know?
Right.
Like, I know what she means, you know, who do you think you are? This is me in my life, and you're going to have to wait, because this is how it is, you know? I'm going to take this minute, you know, and have to do what I have to do, you know, and sorry. So, tuning my guitar is one of them. Some say, in leftover wine, what do you do? Yeah, that's a good one. Babe Rainbow. Sometimes when I finish Babe Rainbow, it's like that feeling, you know. Like you catch your breath.
Babe Rainbow, oh, keep your glow on. There's a show on, you know, and they're all gonna be there. Put the gleam in your eyes and do something to your hair. Keep your glow on. Babe Rainbow, oh, you gotta go on. Babe Rainbow, oh, keep your glow on. Though your hand has been held away too long, you're afraid to walk down the street all alone. Keep your glow on. Babe Rainbow, oh, you gotta go on. Oh, it must be hard looking right the sun when you know in your heart you might never be warm. Oh, I know it's hard looking into the sun when you know deep inside you might never be warm. Babe, rainbow, dancing to a slow dance, add a memory affair when all the boys were there. Put the gleam back in your eyes and don't let 'em know you care. Keep your glow on, babe, rainbow, you gotta go on. Oh, it must be hard looking right at the sun when you know in your heart you might never be warm. Oh, I know it's hard looking into the sun when you know deep inside you might never be warm. Babe, rainbow, keep your glow on, never show on, you know, and they're all gonna be there. Put the gleam back in your eyes and don't let 'em know you care. Put the gleam back in your eyes and do something to your hair. Keep your glow on, babe, rainbow, you gotta go on. Oh, you gotta go on now. Oh, you're gonna go.
They got a glimpse of something that's they're always going to remember that, and no matter if they could articulate it or not, they're going to always remember, oh yeah, that song was really great, or something, where you catch your breath. That's the important stuff.
Wow.
And the entertaining is just as important. I don't take anything away from, oh, I remember that song, I really like that. Oh, I got around your pair of roller skates, that's nice, I remember roller skating. Oh, it was fun. There's nothing less important about that, but as far as the actual reaction that happens after, of course, everybody jumping up and standing up and applauding is a great reaction,
Right.
But that other little thing that happens. And it's easier when more people want that,
Right.
than when they're like, oh, I just want to hear Brand New Key, come on, do that again.
Right.
I remember roller skating, that's why I like theaters a little more than like drunken brawls, I mean, a drunken brawl is good and you can control the vibe there too, but it's more likely to happen in a theater. First of all, a theater has a past. A theater is where, I don't know, Greta Garbo was there or something, or, somebody, other important people have performed in this theater. So the theater itself has the beingness of a theater, so that people enter, they feel more like this is where something can happen, but just a big bunch of people in a room screaming and shouting is not as likely, I mean, you could get great moments and people can all cheer and go crazy, but a theater has this, some theaters especially more than others have this, the beingness of a theater,
right.
and people walk in and they don't know what's going to happen, but they're a little more open because, first of all, they're safe. They're in a nice theater. The seats are comfortable and there's a bathroom. And they can get a drink and they can eat something or get some snacks or something. Everything is okay. But this theater has a history, so-and-so performed here. Bob Dylan performed there. Leonard Cohen performed. I don't know who, whatever. But it's got a stature all its own. So I prefer theaters, and there are not so many people that you can't reach. Just some places are so big. It's very exciting to play
right.
a really big place, but sometimes it's almost easier because people see that there's a lot of people who agree with them that Melanie is pretty good, so they're more predisposed to being comfortable because they all have a lot of agreement, or
right.
all around them. There's a lot of people, we like Melanie, yeah, we do, and there she is, and she's up there, and this, well, she's good, isn't she? And it's nice.
A concert perspective. Brooks Arthur, recording engineer. When Melanie was introduced and entered stage right, I watched as she stopped by my console for a last-second deep breath, gave me a smile, grabbed her guitar from its stand, and entered the Met to a rousing ovation. If a rousing ovation could spell, it would spell out the words, "Welcome home! We love you, Melanie!" And in the spirit of that applause, Melanie dove right into the concert, and with each song, and even between songs, and even between verses and choruses, the sold-out audience kept on inching its way closer to the stage, trying to bond with her, thinking that they would become part of Melanie's fabric. But an odd thing occurred. It started to get dangerous to the artist and to the theater and to the fans themselves, as more than a few audience members trickled onto the stage, creating a space for those in the audience to get even closer to the lip of the stage. And after every song, Melanie would appeal and plead for audience members to sit down so that the audience in the back could see the show, also urging them not to get hurt along the way. But on this particular night, this particular audience had a mind of its own. They didn't listen and kept inching closer and closer. This audience had some of her most ardent fans, a few who even cloned themselves in Melanie's clothing styles. So what began as an elegant theatrical performance live at the Met became a one-of-a-kind elegant folk festival meets an evening at the Met. Those on the stage got comfortable with the festival-like seating, with their legs folded, and even those in the audience and in the aisles folded their legs, reminiscent of a folk festival. All the while, Melanie was concerned with the closeness of everybody, thinking of her fans' safety first and foremost. And of course, watching out for her own safety. After all, she had just given birth 4 months before this concert. It was a borderline situation between love and adoration and an accident that could potentially happen. Melanie kept on appealing and appealing between songs, trying to remedy the situation, between tuning guitars, between thank yous and singing her heart out. Melanie prevailed, with her talent and the songs and her kindness reigning supreme, creating a never-to-be-forgotten Live at the Met 1974 Love Fest. And the net result was one of the greatest performances of all time. I was lucky to have been a part of it. Brooks Arthur, recording engineer.
Okay, I just have to say, everybody from here over have to do something else. You can either go away, or go there, but you have to do something else. You can't stay there, please. And same thing from here, because all those people here can see it. And then you have to do something else. Please, really. You see, you turn 27, you become a disciplinarian. All right, I'll play some music to move to. Really, all of you people have to get up and go somewhere else. I'm sorry. Because those people are very mad.
Figured the most lively way to finish an episode entitled An Evening with Melanie would be to play the 3-song finale of Melanie's amazing show at the New York City Metropolitan Opera House on the 3rd of February, 1974. But before I push play, there is a very interesting topic that I wanted to invite you to hear about. This is an area of Melanie's life that hasn't been explored all that much outside of a few magazine articles, but is fascinating. And that is her home in eastern New Jersey in the community called Lincroft, which is part of the Middleton Township. Melanie and Peter purchased a priest's retreat, and then as the years went by, Melanie expanded it and made a dream home. All the while, she included trees and a wishing well and other parts of nature as part of the presentation of the house, where there were actual trees growing through the house. Melanie called Lincroft home throughout the neighborhood record years. And the closing of neighborhood records was incredibly sad. The Schekeryks shift from New Jersey, New York, go down to Florida. I had incredible conversations with Melanie about Lincroft. I cried. One day I was in New Jersey. I, on a whim, went to the house it was there intact, incredibly well maintained by the owners, like Melanie had just walked through the front door. And this reminds me of when I went through the Lincroft house, when in the pantry, those flowers that you painted.
Oh.
Because they're still there. And
Oh
she
my
told me,
God.
she said, Melanie painted those flowers.
Yeah. Oh God, it was amazing that I didn't paint the whole house. I was like, that was my fun.
Oh. So the Lincroft house, you did Woodstock and then left Buddha. Were you in the Lincroft house when you left Buddha Records?
We decided we should now have a house, and wanted a house that, was artistic or something magical about it. So this house was it. It was a priest's retreat. Wasn't in bad condition, but it was very small. It was just a cabin with rooms. The whole downstairs was set up for priests to live in little bunks. It's funny because I'm reading Newsland on Life, and it says, you may wave your magic wand.
Yeah.
It happened, and that's basically, that was the state I was in. Okay, I can see, we'll build a whole area down this way, off that main living room with the gorgeous stone fireplace, and we'll just extend it, and we'll extend that area, and we'll have an upstairs. Why not have an upstairs? And because the upstairs was just an attic, so we made that into rooms. And it ended up to be 27 rooms of wonderfulness. So
Right.
it was really great. There was a well there that we could make, and I was very into making a water well.
Wow. I think that's still there at the front of the house?
Yeah.
Yeah. What a beautiful place. It's just beautiful still.
Oh, good.
And they were, every little detail that they could maintain on your behalf, they did.
We had moved basically more in Florida. We were on the beach in Fort Myers, which was Estero Island. Fort Myers Beach is what they called it, but it was really Estero Island. And then I guess there was a fort or something they call Fort Myers Beach. I don't know. But I preferred to call it Estero Island. And we had a big house, and it was on the beach. It was like right on the beach, on stilts, in the sand. And this was my new happy life. And I was away from all of the angst and guilt and whatever else was going on, and all these people that I didn't really like too much. And it was kind of a nice, this is nice, the beach, the water, the girls were running in the sand. We don't have to have this heavy house, It was heavy. So, I was relieved to be out of there a little bit. I had so much at the beginning, this was going to be my house forever. But as things started to, encroach, I was happier in Florida. I was happier in Florida.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it. And I'd do things, and I'd make things, and I'd walk the beach and get healthy and, whatever, swim every single day and watch the dolphins at night and drink pina coladas. And, it was like, this is like so different from anything I had experienced. This is nice. This is really nice, So the loss of the house wasn't like, oh my God, my house. It was more like, what are we doing with another house?
Yeah.
Why do I need a house with 2 swimming pools? And things were happening, and there was too much condensation in the swimming pool, and we had to get something redone, and there was always like this major thing. And we were on a reservoir, and at first it seemed like this is going to be the house we'll live in forever and ever, and plant gardens and trees. I planted a tree called a thundercloud plum tree.
Right.
I'd love to see if they still had that tree in the front. It was in the front part of the house, on the right side of the driveway. And it was a very slow-growing tree. And I planted it when Layla was born.
Mm-hmm.
But, Lincroft was this, like, dream, for a minute. But then when the actual living, I felt so much better in Florida, away from my mother. And then it was all of a sudden Florida. It was like, nobody's here, nobody's bothering me. It was kind of, oh, okay, we'll live here on the beach. What could be better? We live on the sea. And so that's how I evacuated from Lincroft. I mean, I grew up thinking that you always stay close to your family. I didn't come from a generation that moved all over the country. It was very odd for someone to move across the country from their family. So to me it was like, this is what I have to do. How can I move away from my family? So it was a way of getting away. When we could get this other house in Florida, I could be there and then come back to Lincroft, and then be there and then come back to Lincroft. But then at one point, like, why do I have to come back to Lincroft? Why do I really have to do that? I mean, it was the great relief was Florida. And it was like, yeah, this is really much nicer.
Right.
Without all these people around me, And that was just a realization, and I better stay here in Florida.
Yeah.
So that's how. So it wasn't like, I said goodbye to Lincroft, It wasn't like I drove down the driveway one last time, Yes, it's painful because it was a dream that wasn't. It was too much of a nest, that whole area. And the people that everybody knew and I knew. And of course, no matter what Peter did, he was terrible. We were at the point where I think, why do we have this house?
Right.
If we're not in it.
Right.
And things were happening and needed to be done. And I had already, created the little fairy tale. It had a swimming pool inside, had a swimming pool outside. What could be better? And then I had a goat and a little goat house. I wonder, was the goat house there? It was right by the swimming pool.
Yes, it was. But he is turning it into a really nice bathroom. Really nice.
Oh, a bathroom for the swimming pool.
Yeah.
Like to go in and shower off. And
yeah.
It was a bathroom. Yeah, it was nice. And the funny thing is, I've seen other people who've had their dream house and that they did all these things. And I project, if I had Lincroft, what would have happened. It just gets more and more cluttery.
Do you think you would have just sold it yourself at some point?
I don't know, because sometimes a thing like that holds you.
Right, yeah, it does.
And I was the kind of person that, wanted something like permanent. This was permanent. And Florida was like a sandcastle,
Yeah.
One wave comes in and it's all gone, and
Right.
it seemed like something nice about that. Okay, so if we don't have this place, we'll go somewhere else. It seemed just so free, that whole time of going and being in Florida. That was like, and then I'd have to get ready and go on the road. And I used to laugh because half my suitcase would be sand. Because you can never get the sand. Clearwater sand was like sugar, so soft and silky and powdery that it stuck to everything. There was always a coating of sand on everything. I mean, you'd clean a glass table and 3 days later you look and there's this fine coating of sand in my suitcase. Every time I packed from Florida, it would have I'd take it out in the next place, there'd be sand on my clothes and sand in my cosmetics and sand on me, when I took off my shoes, it would be sand. And it was nice. I liked that house. It was a very 50s solid built house on stilts.
This is almost the point where I push play, for we have arrived at the finale of the episode, An Evening with Melanie. For the most up-to-date news and music from Melanie, connect with her directly on her website, melaniesafka.com, or through social media at Melanie and Safka on Instagram, and both Melanie or Melanie Safka on Facebook. Credits for today's episode are myself, Corinne Sullivan, who researched and actually lived the content I speak of here. I conducted the interviews with Melanie for this podcast and wrote and edited and produced it. Today, the 21st of May, 2023, here in Willamina, Oregon. Sending all my love to Melanie, the star of everything I presented here, for the use of her music, for visiting with me throughout many interview sessions conducted between 2019 and 2022. Music interludes at the beginning portion of today's podcast and throughout came to Music on the Open Road directly from a transfer of those 50 or so year-old original Neighborhood Records audio reels. And while I don't have specific credits to share with you about the singer or the people playing, only because no shared information was obtained during the transfer or the physical box that the reel was in, I can tell you that the band and the singer were most likely a creation by Peter Schekeryk, recorded at Studio 914 in New York City between 1971 and 1974. All of the performances by Melanie played in this episode are from the landmark show, An Evening with Melanie, performed at the New York City Metropolitan Opera House on Melanie's 27th birthday in 1974. So to fully conclude the episode Neighborhood Records, I am getting off this stage to allow Melanie to step back up to her microphone. It's February 3rd, and it's a sold-out show. It's New York City. Melanie has traveled extensively, but now she's home, and all her fans from her hometown are very excited. This is Corinne Sullivan, signing away her life forever to the music. I hope you enjoy the finale of Melanie at the Met.
I've been celebrating way too long, and I've been drinking, I'm ashamed to tell. Still feel thirsty, God, I wanna drink the water from the well. Still feel thirsty, God, I wanna drink and ring the living bell. Ring the bell, Lord. Ring the living bell. Still feel thirsty, God, I want to give and ring the living bell. I'm not a magic lady, but I wanna sing to help the light descend on the earth today, because it's gonna get dark tonight. Sing for light, sing for living light. Still feel weak, but God, I wanna give and shine the living light. I still feel weak, but God, I wanna give and ring the living bell. I've been walking down the street all night, and I've been feeling kinda cold. Still feel naked, God, I wanna be warm before I get old, and I'm cold, and I'm feeling cold. Still feel weak, but God, I want to give and ring the living bell. I still feel weak, but God, I want to Ring the living bell, ring the living bell. I've been celebrating way too long, and I have eaten much too well. Still feel hungry, God, I wanna give and ring the living bell, ring the bell, Lord. Ring the living bell. Still feel hungry, God, I want to give and ring the living bell. I still feel hungry, God, I'm gonna give and ring the living bell. Yes, I still feel hungry, God, I'm gonna give and ring the living bell. There's a chance peace will come in your life, leaves by one. There's a chance peace will come in your life, please by one. Well, sometimes when I am feeling as big as the land, with a velvet hill in the small of my back, and my hands are playing the sand, and my feet are swimming in all of the waters. All of the rivers are givers to the ocean according to plan, according to man. Well, sometimes when I am feeling so grand, and I become the world, and the world becomes a man, and my song becomes a part of the river, I cry out to keep me just the way I am, according to plan, according to man, according to plan, according to man, according to plan, according to man, according to plan. Oh, there's a chance peace will come in your life, please by one. Oh, there's a chance peace will come in my life, please by one. For some time when we have reached the end, with our velvet hill in the small of our backs, and our hands are clutching the sand, will our blood become a part of the river? All the rivers are givers to the ocean, according to plan, according to man. There's a chance peace will come in your life, please by one. There's a chance peace will come in your life, please by one. There's a chance peace will come in your life, please by one. There's a chance
for a minute and see if she'll come back and do an encore, huh? Oh my God. Beautiful.
I didn't think I would do that, but I always thought that was a really terrible thing for people to do, bring their babies out. So, but isn't she nice? Breastfed. What wondrous love is this? Oh, my soul, oh, my soul. What wondrous love is this? Oh, my soul. What wondrous love is this that caused the Lord of bliss now to send this perfect peace to my soul? Oh my soul, oh my soul. When I was sinking down, oh my soul, when I was sinking down, oh my soul, when I was sinking down, I stopped and looked around, and there I heard the sound of my soul. Oh my soul, oh my soul. To God and to His man I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna sing. To God and to His man I'm gonna sing. To God and to His man who is afraid I am not. What wondrous love is this? Oh my soul, oh God and to his man who is afraid I am not. What wondrous love is this? Oh my soul, oh my soul.